Hi everyone, this is our look at alcohols. Alcohols are actually a category of compounds, which possibly people fail sometimes to understand. Because alcohol is a part of our daily life in society, we sometimes use the word alcohol to mean one specific one, ethanol. That one chemical is so pervasive in our society that we end up using the category name instead of the specific example. However, they are a whole category of compounds with many different possibilities. They are hydrocarbon derivatives. This means now instead of just having straight up hydrocarbons, just C's and H's, which we've had up until now, we're going to see some oxygen in a special functional group called hydroxyl. This is similar to something we've encountered before, hydroxide. However, hydroxide is a negative ion, which would be ionically bonded to some cations in an ionic compound. Organic compounds are always molecular. So here, this bond would be a covalent bond, and because of that, we give it a slightly different name than we might expect. It's hydroxyl instead of hydroxide. To name these kinds of compounds, here's the steps. We're going to look for this hydroxyl, and the name is going to end with OL, all. Alcohols always have their name ending with OL. If there's two of them, then we would have di. If we see two different hydroxyls, we'll say di-all at the end of our name. Maybe once in a while you might see three, it would be a tri-all. Each hydroxyl is going to be assigned a digit. As always, we want to keep these digits as small as possible. And if there is only one possible location for the hydroxyl, then we would not use a digit. For the longest chain, we're going to use a prefix, our traditional ones, meth, eth, prop, etc. However, if there's one hydroxyl, we're going to use the alkane name and just take the E off. So if the longest chain had one, it would be not methane, but take the E off, methane. Not ethane for two carbons in the chain, take the E off, ethane. Or if there was three carbons, the longest chain would be called propan. Or say there was 8 carbons, octan. Name the longest chain like it was an alkane, but remove the E. If there are two hydroxyl groups, if we're calling it di-all or tri-all at the end of the name, then we're going to use the full alkane name with the E on the end, propane, octane, whatever the number of carbons happens to be. If there are any branches, any alkyl groups, we're going to follow our, by now, well-established rules. We're going to call them methyl, ethyl, propyl, even phenyl. If there's two of the same kind of branch, we're going to use di. If there's three of the same kind of branch, say tri. Different kinds of branches are going to get named alphabetically. We're going to assign digits to the location of those branches, and they need to be also as small as possible. Here's a few examples. There's that OH. As soon as we see that OH, then we're going to say all, OL. This one only has one OH in it, so we don't need to say di or tri. Give each hydroxyl a digit. Where on the longest chain is the hydroxyl attached? If we count it from the right, we would give it a 3. If we start from the left, we get a 2. We want that number to be as small as possible, and clearly 2 is smaller than 3. This is a process of naming that's fairly analogous to what we would use for an alkene or an alkyne. The very last syllable matches the functional group, and then there's a digit right at the end of the name. Use a prefix. How many carbons in this chain? 1, 2, 3, 4. So we're going to name that like it was an alkane, which would be butane. Here though, because there's only one hydroxyl, there's only one OH in this compound, we're going to take that name, butane, and take the E off, butan. The final name here doesn't exactly roll off the tongue, but it's butan 2-ol. Our next example, I see the OHs. I see those there. OL. See those hydroxyl groups? Say OL. If there's two, sure there is two, so it's di. This is a diol. There's two hydroxyls. Assign each OH a digit. These ones, they could have been on the end instead. We actually have to give them a number. There are more than one possibility here, so yes, we are going to use digits. Both of them are on the second carbon. No matter which direction we count, they're on carbon number 2. 2,2-diol. Now, let's find the longest chain. It's 3 carbons in a row, and for multiple hydroxyls, here we have 2, use the full alkane name. 3 carbons as an alkane is propane. So this gets named propane 2,2-diol. One more example to go. Well, I see the OH. I see that hydroxyl right there, so we say ol. Assign the hydroxyl a digit. Where is it? It could be on carbon number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, or it could be on carbon 1, 2, 3. We want that digit to be as small as possible, so 3 is smaller than 6. Now, we're going to name the longest chain. There's only one hydroxyl, so we're going to take the alkane name and drop the E. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 would be octane. We're going to take the E off. Octan 3-ol. There's now another branch over here, a methyl. We're going to need to assign that methyl a digit. It does look closer to the left-hand side of this molecule. However, we already have this 3 in place. So because we placed the hydroxyl and decided it was on number 3, we're already committed to counting in that direction from right to left. So the methyl is now attached to carbon 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We have 6-methyl octan 3-ol. Doesn't exactly roll off of the tongue, but there is a certain logic there. The OL means there is a hydroxyl, this OH. Where is it? On carbon number 3. Carbon number 3 out of how many? Oct. 8 carbons in a row. Is there a branch? Yep, there's a methyl on carbon number 6. Alcohols are hydrocarbon derivatives that contain this hydroxyl group. They have their own distinct naming rules. However, we're going to follow very traditional, well-established rules for us now for naming the alkyl groups. Something that's new is we're not just using the straight-up prefix, we're naming the longest chain like it was an alkane, and either dropping that very final E, like we did in our first example, butan 2-ol, we took the E off of butane, or if there's 2 hydroxyls, we're going to use the full alkane name, like we did in our second example, propane, there's that E. I hope that helps.